Hey everybody. So one of the favorite things that I love talking about, especially recently, is everything to do with relationships because I've been working with people in relationships or looking to attract relationships for a very, very long time. So I help people find what it is that they're actually looking for and get really clear on what that is. But other than that, what I really want to talk about is how to know if you're actually a placeholder when you're with somebody. This is something that can feel so agonizing, right? Because you might be sure about this person, you might be able to see a future, but you start to wonder, do they actually see a future with you? Where do they stand? Like, what is their intent here? Like, what's going on? And there are many different ways in which you can tell if you're a placeholder, okay? So in relationships with someone else, if they don't want any sort of label with you, that is typically a red flag, and that's typically a sign, right? There's a lot of people that say, well, I just don't want labels. I don't want labels. But if you are, seeking a very specific relationship and yet they want you to act like you're in a relationship, but yet they don't want to put a label on it, often what I have seen is that they just want someone that's there, that does all the duties of a girlfriend or boyfriend, and they don't want the commitment or responsibility that comes with it, right? So this is usually what people mean when they don't want labels. And sure, there's exceptions to everything, of course, but usually if someone doesn't want to lock it down with you, especially after a couple of months, then typically they're just wasting your time. But another way to tell is if they only see you when they have spare time. So you're not really a priority. And of course, in relationships, you're not always going to be like above everything else, obviously. Like there's work and there's a few other things in there for sure, but you're equal with all those things, right? But if you only see them when they, maybe sort of kind of have some spare time and they're constantly dropping you or constantly dropping the ball or constantly rescheduling or constantly just not showing up for you, then they don't see you as a priority. They don't see you as someone they do want to spend that time with. And I am well aware that things come up in life, like sometimes things all just happen at once and it's just circumstance. But if this is a constant, consistent pattern that you're seeing with somebody, they don't view you as important, right? And they never make plans with you, right? If they're never making plans and not checking in with you and not saying, hey, when can I see you next? They're just really not that interested. If they're always forgetting the plans that they make with you, or if they're constantly canceling, that's another sign, and when you look at this, it's not just one sign means that, there's going to be quite a few things that start adding up over time. So if they're not sensitive to your needs, then they're just not caring about what's in your best interest. If they don't think of your needs and what you might actually require, then they're just not that interested. And especially if there's no movement forward. So you might be talking about constantly like, yeah, when we live together or when we do this and when this happens, you might be always talking about it, but there's no action towards it, right? So you might see some things of where they say they're not talking about plans, future plans with you, but I've seen this with people that even do talk about future plans. They will say all these future plans, and a lot of times it's distant future, like things that can't happen for years and years, right? But they'll talk about that as if it's going to happen, but yet they take no steps and no movement forward to actually progressing in the relationship. So you're just staying stuck, and it's the same cycle, same routine, and nothing is actually moving forward. There's also a lack of emotional connection. So even quality time and things to that nature, do you actually feel emotionally connected to the person? Are they emotionally connecting to you? Or is the only sense of connection you're getting is just purely physical? And is that even not consistent at best, So there's these things that happen too. Because sometimes people will say, well, they'll just use you for intimacy. But I've seen it where there's no emotional connection and they barely even go into intimacy. And when they do, it's all about them and their needs and absolutely nothing to do with you. So intimacy is never mutual. They're just always too busy to fit you in. It's like they don't have space in their life for you. And they can't let go of past connections, like certain past connections. And if you have any questions, they might get defensive and angry. Or if you're feeling a certain way and you bring it to them and they automatically just snap and call you insecure or say that's a you problem, they don't actually care about your feelings. They don't actually care about you. Because when you bring an issue to the healthy masculine or to a healthy partner, they will understand why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, and they will come up with a solution. If they're not coming up with solutions and they're just saying, oh, you just tell me what to do, or what do you think a good solution would be, and they're not actively involved in finding a solution, they're just not that interested. They're just not. And if it's all one-sided, if one is constantly pulling all the weight, like doing everything around the house, planning all the dates, doing all, like, literally everything, and the other person really has no say and they don't really seem like they care, it's probably because they don't, right? I know not everyone is good with planning and things like that, but honestly, I see this time and time and time and time again with people that actually are really invested and really interested in see you as a priority. They will make the time. They will find the time. They won't make excuses. They will want to see you, and they will actually miss you. Weird, right? And the other thing is that they might not introduce you to certain friends. They might introduce you to the friends that they're comfortable with, but other ones that they claim to be really good friends of theirs that they've known forever, but yet they never introduce you. And then they'll say things like, well, you would just get too insecure anyway, and that's why I'm not introducing you. Again, these are things to know that they're just not letting go of the past. Their ego is running the show, and they're just not that interested in you. Because real partners, if there's any sort of potential threat or possibility, they're going to find a solution for that. They're not going to want to jeopardize what you have, but there's some people that just want to keep options around just in case. And that's someone who's not invested in you at all. And if you have that gut feeling that something is off, 99% of the time it is. And I've had this happen to me so many times where I'm like, it's a me problem. It's just my anxiety. It's out of control. I'm crazy. Like, there's something wrong with me. But really that gut feeling ended up being right. Even though I had no logical proof at the time, everything looked good on the surface. Everything kind of checked off. But then things started coming to light. A lot of things started coming to light. And that gut feeling was actually quite right. And I ignored it instead of listening. And that's another thing that you should always listen to, is that gut feeling. If you feel like something is off and they're not actually serious about you, they're probably not. So just listen to that and listen to that feeling. And their actions and words don't match, right? There's a lot of people that can spin a good story, that can make things sound so nice and romantic and like it's going to last forever. But look at their actions. What are they actually doing day to day to bring you closer to that potential future, right? And it's interesting because it doesn't take people all that long to figure out if they want to be with someone or not. And if you've been seeing someone for like a year and there's still no movement forward, I would even say 6 months, honestly. Because every single man that I know, and even women too, that when they find someone that they're sure about, they know within 3 months. They know. They know they're the one, they're sure, they're moving forward. And if they're uncertain, then they're just not the right person for them. So this is why it's really important to know, because I've been in this position before. Many times I've been the placeholder until something better comes along, or people are just too scared to get out of their own wounding and claim that they're fine. And it's okay that people have past wounds. You don't have to be fully healed in order to move forward and have love in your life. However, if that's keeping you stuck and the person you're with isn't inspiring you to actually grow and do something about that, and you're totally okay with potentially losing them, then you probably don't care as much as you think you do. The thing is, you can really love somebody, but that doesn't mean that person feels loved by you. It's also really important that we love people in their love language and not just your own. So think of it from that perspective. When you really care about someone, you really see a future with them, and you really want to move forward with them, those things start to fall into place. And you will act in a way as if they are a priority, because they are, because you care, because you want to spend time with them, and because you see all of that unfolding. And when it's mutual, it becomes such a beautiful dynamic between two people. It doesn't matter if you're masculine, feminine, it all comes together so beautifully. So hopefully this gives you some insight as to what to look for, because dating doesn't have to be hard. We just overcomplicate things, and there's a lot of people who aren't really honest with what they're ready for, and a lot of people who actually will tell you up front what they can and cannot do, what is currently going on with them, and we just refuse to listen. I can attest to that, to where someone's like, I don't know if I can be in a relationship. And even consciously, subconsciously, what's rolling is, well, if I just keep showing up and being awesome, they'll eventually see me and choose me, right? Wrong. If they don't see that potential in the first couple months, regardless of their external circumstance, then you're just not the one, and that's okay. Release that, stop wasting your time, and start looking for that person for you, okay? Love you guys. Hope this was valuable for you. If you have any comments or any feedback, just let me know. But just notice like where this has happened to you and if these are certain things that you may or may not have noticed. Okay, thanks.